Brian Gutekunst, the GM of the team, spoke today, and instead of saying Aaron Rodgers is definitely our guy, Aaron Rodgers is absolutely going to be here as long as he wants to be here, we'll wait as long as we have to for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision. Gutekunst said that Jordan Love is absolutely ready to be a starter and all options are on the table with Aaron Rodgers. That's a different message.
It is.
And that is
message.
That at a time when there's some reporting, because look, these statements aren't made in a vacuum. There's been reporting by Bob McGinn, who covered the team for decades, that they're disgusted with him, they're done with him, they're ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers. When you say this in that environment, you're saying something, I think, very significant if you're Brian Gutekunst.
I think they're definitely going out there and telling you, hey, we're not afraid to have Jordan Love as our quarterback. They're still being held hostage by Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's the biggest problem here.
He said he's not going to, but he is.
But he's kind of getting into that time
here. He's out of his little bungalow or burrow or wherever he was. Yeah. It's time for him to let everyone know what he's going to do.
Agreed. I think if he goes any longer than the next week or 10 days, I would start to go, well, no, you're holding them hostage. Because as you've discussed and said many times leading up to this, and this is when these conversations. Derek Carr's here this week. What do you think he's here to check out the city in Indianapolis and the sites? No, he's here because they're going to talk about trade or not trade, but where I'm going to sign. This is where these conversations start, as you've always explained so well. So yeah, you're getting to the fringe here of you are holding your team hostage, and I agree with you. I mean, it seems like when you kind of read between the lines, it does seem that way. When you talk about a great reporter that followed a team like that, he obviously knows some people within that organization still, Bob McGinn. So, yeah, those are things, and I'm not shocked to hear that. How could they be totally in love and love the situation with Aaron Rodgers? Put yourself in the Packers situation. How could they be? And how can you plan for the future or even this year? There's just so many things there that are a pain in the butt. And I'm sure they're kind of sick of that. And Jordan Love, like you said last week, he showed some promise and did some good things, and they drafted him, and they probably want to see what he's got here and plan their future.
When Aaron Rodgers is playing at an MVP level, it's a no-brainer. He didn't play at an MVP level last year. They didn't make the playoffs. And he was aloof. He was disengaged. We talked about this yesterday. The brightest line you can draw is from Rodgers to Patrick Mahomes, and everything Mahomes did to get a new look, revamped, receiving core ready, and everything Aaron Rodgers didn't do to get a new look, revamped, receiving core ready. And if you want him back, it better be all in. It better be present for the offseason program. I mean, how many millions do you have to give a guy to get him to show up for the voluntary offseason program? I know it's voluntary, and I know that we are proponents of players doing what they have to do.
It ain't voluntary for quarterbacks that are franchise
quarterbacks. Not when you're making $60 million this year. So,
no.
And so he has to ask himself, first, do I retire or do I play? Second, do I play for the Packers or do I play for someone else?
Right.
Third, do I play for who if I'm playing for someone else? Those are the three decisions, and the Packers are part of this. And, Chris, something that we've talked about, the potential for this to get awkward and ugly and delicate if the Packers are trying to steer him in a certain direction and he wants to play for a different team. We went through the exercise yesterday of which teams maybe he should want to play for. But if it comes down to that, I am a firm believer the Packers should just trade him to the team he wants to play for. If they're ready to move on, let him go to the team he wants to play for, and don't worry about it being a team in your conference or in your division. They don't have to worry about him being traded to the Vikings, Lions, or Bears at this point, I don't think.
No.
With Favre, 15 years ago, yes.
You did.
Right now, no. Trade him where he wants to go. Make it easy. Accommodate him. Thank him for everything he's done for the team and move on.
Who were the teams that we would even evaluate right now to go, I'm with you, agreed with you 100%. You can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want to move on, and a team in the NFC who you go, we maybe, if we play well, have to play them in the playoffs, okay, so be it. All right. Yeah, you might lose that game, and you're going to have to hear about it for a little while. But, again, still, you won't be in the same boat again where you're going, wait, I don't know what to do for next year, and what are we going to do?
They got swept by Brett Favre in 2009, and the following year they won the Super Bowl.
That's right. And nobody even cares right now. Here we are 10, 12, 13 years later. Nobody cares. So I'm with you in that they should not let that be the determining factor, let alone, I think, as we kind of flushed out yesterday, the only team that we brought up that we thought was even in that type of conversation, the 49ers, which I don't think they would do that right now. I wouldn't expect that. Carolina's the other team we talked about.
I brought you around on Carolina.
You did. You definitely made some points there. And, and of course, Derek Carr's meeting with them this week as well, which makes sense. So I'm interested to see with that. But, are you not going to trade him to Carolina to just go, what? I mean, what you think? I mean, okay, I don't know. They're the Saints. Those seem to be the only two teams in the NFC, right, that are apparent. Am I missing somebody off the top of my head? I think that's about it. And
the Commanders
maybe
are fascinating
yeah, they are.
as a possibility if
right.
he'd be available and if he'd want to play for that team.
Right.
I don't know that he'd want to play for that team given the dysfunction that's currently going on. We may get to that coming up here later in the program. But if you're looking for a one-year destination, then maybe that's a place where you could go. And it all comes down to what is his agenda. Does he want to go to the place where the deck is stacked in his favor to win a Super Bowl? I think he's fearful that if he goes to a place where people say, oh, he's going to win another Super Bowl and he doesn't get there, that's when the narrative shifts ever so slightly from it's the Packers' fault they haven't been back to it. Maybe it's his fault. Maybe he does play a little too tightly in the postseason when things are otherwise.
Well, think about early
up.
Rodgers we saw. Like you just said, the Super Bowl run, was that tightly, right? He was running around throwing lasers everywhere.
Nobody expected anything, nothing to lose.
Making plays where you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's about to throw that ball in that window. Oh man, he got it in again. Right. I think we're in the era here where, you got to stop worrying about mistakes like we talked about. We're seeing here Matthew Stafford led the league in interceptions, won the Super Bowl. All the great quarterbacks this year, had high interception marks. It's a little bit more or less about taking care of the ball now and making plays. I think that's where the league's changed. And, the Falcons are another team I think we could have thrown in that quarterback conversation. But here would be my 2 cents about those teams. I would question whether I'd want Aaron Rodgers. You got some meat left on the bone on your own football team. So now what? You're going to trade assets away even though your team's not complete for one guy and maybe be stuck here in a year or two and go, damn, now we don't have a team. We got to rebuild. Oh, we traded all the assets away to the Packers. I don't know if any of them make sense to me because they're not in win now, win right this moment mode either.
Great point, though. What will the Packers want for him?
I know.
See, and that's the other thing, too. If they're ready to move on, you got to take your thumb off the scale.
You might have to a little.
You can't demand this incredible return.
Right.
And it was like a 4th or a 3rd round pick for Brett Favre 15 years ago that could have been more based upon performance. They have to be realistic and reasonable.
Yeah.
The other side of it, too, is are you trying to win or you're trying to fill up the Mercedes-Benz
Superdome
or whatever they call it. It's not the Superdome. They got the Mercedes-Benz. They moved it from the New Orleans Stadium to the Atlanta Stadium.
Mercedes-Benz Dome.
Do you want the dome in Atlanta to be filled with fans? And would Aaron Rodgers even do it? I don't know that at this point in his career.
No, I don't think that kind of team.
Season tickets. Tom Brady, yes. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. It's
He probably will, but it's just are those teams, I don't think they're ready for a guy like Rodgers, and I don't think Rodgers is going to want those teams right now. Like you said, he's going to go to a team, if he's going to do it, that he feels like he's got a real chance because he's hyper-aware, like you've discussed, and that's what makes him great. But at the same time, it's going to be used against him if he goes to some team and they don't even make the playoffs or they're just barely in the wild card round. It will change the narrative about him a little bit.
What about the Titans?
Yeah, the Titans could be, but the thing there is there's a lot of good there. I'd be interested to see what they think of Ryan Tannehill. I'm a guy that is a Ryan Tannehill believer. I know he's not Aaron Rodgers. Is there enough there weaponry? If I was Rodgers and you were looking at the Titans, I'd go, you have to make a commitment to me that you're going to go out and sign some big receivers here because we can't just get it done with me, Derrick Henry, and Treylon Burke here.
As long as you make the commitment, you're going to be, active and involved in getting these guys up to speed. That's
the other part of it, too.
Whoever he plays for, you want to be certain that he is all in, and you're not just going to see him for a 2-day mini camp and then he shows up for training camp. I have a theory about how this all may play out, and this comes from the part of me that loves chaos. Aaron Rodgers retires and then unretires later in the year. We saw what happened with Brett Favre. He shows up, he's available. Jets throw Chad Pennington overboard to go get Brett Favre.
Yeah, right.
That's really the question. How many teams, after the dust settles on free agency and the draft, would tear up their plans and go for Aaron Rodgers if the Packers are being difficult in where they trade him or what they want? What he can say is, I retire, and then when he shows up, they got to deal with his cap hit, because they could deal with Favre's 15 years ago. I don't think they could deal easily with Rodgers, and they're going to have to move on from him, and maybe they cut him. I don't know what they would do at that point. But at that point, if that happens, then we get to July or August, is there going to be a land rush for his services? Then that's another way it could play out. If he feels like they're pushing him to make a decision, and I have to make a decision now, fine, I'll just retire. That's
he's
what Favre
pushed himself into making this decision. He's said it. So we're going to push him because that's what he told us.
And he's on the record. He's not going to hold them hostage, even though he's kind of in the window where he is.
Right. So, gosh, if he went into that, again, for a guy that we think is pretty aware and knows all that, gosh, wow, he's going to have to deal with some backlash if he decides to take that approach. That's for sure.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.